The stillness in the bathroom enveloped me, a haunting reminder of my own isolation. The soothing embrace of the water enveloped me, attempting to dissolve the tightness in my skin, yet a restless turmoil stirred within my heart. A palpable sense of impending transformation lingered in the air. Uncertainty enveloped me as it drew nearer, a sensation that danced on the edge of thrill and trepidation. As I rinsed my legs beneath the soothing cascade, the tempest of feelings inside me grew ever more fervent. I found myself grappling with my emotions, each one colliding with the next, leaving me adrift and without a clear path forward. Home felt empty as Marcus was away on a business trip. In that instant, despite the fact that Thomas had no business being here, I couldn't dispel the sensation that he lingered nearby, causing my heart to constrict. In that fleeting moment, an unsettling awareness washed over me. As the door creaked open, it revealed a world waiting just beyond its threshold. I sensed his arrival, and despite my efforts to maintain composure, I found myself paralyzed. In that fleeting moment, I found myself grappling with a decision, yet everything unfolded with such rapidity that clarity eluded me. The sound of Thomas's footsteps reached my ears with unmistakable clarity. He lingered behind me, enveloped in silence for a brief moment. The water's sound heightened the tension within me. The water coursing between my legs could not conceal the emotions swirling within me. A presence lingered, a subtle change in the air. His presence reverberated, echoing not only through my body but also within the depths of my mind. He advanced another step. As each moment ticked away, the distance that separated us diminished. My breath became shallow, and my body tensed involuntarily. "Eliza," Thomas declared, his voice quivering yet brimming with determination. "Your presence is essential to me." In that fleeting instant, my heart danced with a gentle flutter. As my hands glided through the water, each subtle motion resonated with a sense of significance. His gaze lingered on my back, yet I lacked the courage to face him. My body craved his proximity, yet I struggled to maintain a semblance of logic, even as everything felt utterly nonsensical. Thomas remained quiet, advancing another step closer to me. He was so near that every nerve ending in my body tingled with an irresistible pull towards him. The turmoil within me came to an abrupt halt, and in an instant, my thoughts dissipated into the ether. A scream reverberated within the confines of my mind, yet no sound escaped my lips. Within me, emotions collided softly, and at the moment our gazes intertwined, nothing could draw us apart. In that instant, it seemed as though the space separating Thomas and me had completely dissolved. The tumultuous feelings swirling inside me deepened with every fleeting moment. As we drew nearer, our gazes intensified, revealing unspoken emotions. I came to the unsettling conclusion that the moment for clarity had slipped away, leaving me adrift in my emotions and uncertain of my path forward. In that instant, there existed but a singular essence. Even with the distance that separated us, everything seemed to merge into one. Thomas gazed deeply into my eyes. "Eliza," he remarked, "I suppose I need not inquire about your feelings, do I?" I became acutely aware of how perilously near everything had approached. The chaos within me felt like an ominous signal, as if the world around me was teetering on the brink of eruption. The point of no return had been reached. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Eliza. I am 43 years of age. I had always thought I had charted a distinct course through my marriage and the journey of my life. Yet, I never imagined I would encounter such a perplexing emotional quandary. As my husband Marcus immersed himself in his work each passing day, I found myself enveloped in a profound solitude. The stillness within our abode resonated with my solitude, and then came Thomas. Thomas, a youthful spirit just emerging from the halls of academia, brimmed with vitality, his eyes alight with a captivating glimmer. Upon his arrival in our home, he appeared to be an unlikely candidate to bridge the void I felt within. Yet, as the days passed, his glances, his tone, and his actions gradually drew nearer to my heart. Gradually, I became aware that the space separating us was diminishing. One evening, I discovered that Marcus would be away on a business trip, leaving us alone in the house. It was simply me and Thomas. That evening, an unusual sensation lingered in the atmosphere. My emotions churned inside me, a tempest of fear that everything might unravel in the thrill of embracing this new sensation. On that day, Thomas felt more intimately connected to me than he ever had before. The profoundness in his gaze appeared to convey a silent message to me. It was utterly unavoidable to overlook. During our dinner that evening, the conversation deepened, revealing layers of intimacy. With each sip of wine, our laughter intertwined, and our glances became more profound. The intense pull I experienced within was teetering on the brink of an explosive release, much like a volcano ready to burst forth. In an instant, our conversation came to an unexpected halt. As our gazes intertwined, a surge of exhilaration coursed through my heart. In that instant, drawn by the warmth in his gaze, I edged a step nearer. We were so near that I could hear the soft rhythm of his breath. I could feel the tautness in his demeanor, intertwined with an undeniable attraction drawing him closer to me. Our gazes gradually closed the gap that lay between us. Thomas offered a gentle smile. "Eliza," he uttered, and a quiver laced his voice as he spoke my name. "Your beauty is truly captivating." Their words quickened the rhythm of my heart. His intense gaze captivated me, urging me to bridge the gap between us. Without hesitation. Silence enveloped us for a few fleeting seconds. We found ourselves adrift in the depths of one another's gaze. In that instant, as though we were both anticipating the inevitable, Thomas moved closer to me. His approach was deliberate yet unwavering, his gaze locked onto mine as his hands softly settled on my waist. The heat of his touch coursed through me, igniting a tremor within. "Thomas," I murmured softly, yet my voice faded into silence. Silently, he rested his hands on my shoulders, pulling me nearer. In that fleeting instant, my mind emptied, leaving only the sensation of him lingering in the air. With a subtle tilt of my head, I allowed my gaze to convey my longing. Thomas edged nearer, bridging the last gap that separated us. Gradually, he inclined his head in my direction, drawing closer to my lips. In that instant, a flame flickered to life inside me, enveloping me in a comforting glow. As our lips met for the very first time, everything around us faded away into oblivion. It was but a fleeting instant, yet it stretched on, echoing the weight of an entire lifetime. We started to sense a growing closeness between us. Thomas tenderly ran his fingers through my hair, drawing back to gaze deeply into my eyes, and said, "I don't need to ask you how you're feeling, do I?" The word "no" surged like a sob deep inside, enveloping me completely. He perceived the trepidation reflected in my gaze, yet he also recognized the yearning that lingered beneath. Thomas's hands glided gently from my shoulders to my waist. We found ourselves adrift in one another. Our eyes sparkled with eagerness, yet a shadow of fear lingered beneath the surface. The loyalty I harbored for Marcus loomed over me like an imposing mountain, while simultaneously, the attraction I felt for Thomas intensified with every fleeting moment. "Eliza, you sense it as well, don't you?" he murmured, his lips mere inches from mine, and I sensed something shattering within. Guilt enveloped me like a heavy fog, yet with each fleeting moment, my connection to Thomas deepened, and my attraction to him became impossible to ignore. My hands, seemingly guided by an unseen force, drifted toward his chest. Thomas deepened his interest in me. With a tender touch, he drew me near, enveloping me in his embrace. In an instant, Thomas's lips found their way to my neck, while his hands glided down my waist. A shiver coursed through me with each caress of his hand upon my skin. The trepidation reflected in my gaze, the tumult of emotions swirling within me, and that searing warmth eclipsed all else. The weight of this inner turmoil made it increasingly challenging to maintain the profound physical intimacy that enveloped us with each passing moment. Yet, I found myself unable to resist. I wished to embark on this journey, free from the weight of contemplating the conclusion of it all. On that day, solitude enveloped me at home, a quiet echo of Marcus's absence due to his business trip. The mountains lay shrouded beneath a blanket of darkening clouds, as a gentle rain began to fall. The stillness was pierced solely by the whirl of my thoughts, spiraling endlessly within my mind. In the midst of this chaos, I found myself adrift. A few hours earlier, while I was preparing dinner with Thomas, the silence that enveloped us seemed to stretch on indefinitely, as though it would persist forever. Those moments will linger in my memory for all time. My emotions were entwined, rendering me too perplexed to grasp the essence of what I was experiencing. As dusk settled, I made my way to the bedroom to change my attire. As I slipped into the simple white dress, I cast a final glance in the mirror, the weight of uncertainty still hovering in my thoughts. Exhaustion settled in as I grappled with the uncertainty of my next steps. As the rain's melody intertwined with the stillness within, an unforeseen occurrence unfolded. The door creaked open, revealing what lay beyond. One step follows another. Thomas. My gaze snapped to him as soon as I caught sight of him. In that instant, a jolt coursed through me, as though time itself had come to a standstill. Thomas. I murmured, my breath faltering just a bit. In that instant, my inner turmoil intertwined with our proximity, rendering me lightheaded. Without a moment's pause, Thomas advanced confidently. Eliza, he murmured, his tone gentle yet resolute. I need you, he said, moving closer, his eyes ablaze with passion and longing. Every inch of my being was alive with tension, my heart racing, thoughts whirling in a chaotic dance. Yet, in some inexplicable way, my footsteps drew me nearer to him. Thomas, I murmured once more, hardly a whisper escaping my mouth. My hands, filled with an unyielding restlessness, sought something to grasp as I approached him. As though he could feel my inability to say no, he rested his hands on my waist. The warmth stirred every emotion within me. What do you feel, Eliza? He inquired, his voice drawing nearer, resonating with a deeper timbre. His eyes appeared to throb with each utterance. Are you able to comprehend my words? A hush enveloped the space between us. I felt the urge to respond, yet an invisible force restrained me. Thomas's hands glided to my neck, sending a cascade of shivers down my spine. We were so near, it seemed as though all distance had vanished between us entirely. The pressure within me was reaching a breaking point, and I could sense my eyes brimming with an indescribable emotion. Is this genuine? I murmured softly, as though seeking answers from within. I am uncertain of my emotions towards you, yet your presence resonates within me. Thomas gradually leaned in, his lips inching nearer to mine. Time appeared to stretch, and I found myself enveloped in the moment, utterly adrift. In that moment, nothing else held significance, his presence was everything. This is a secret. Shared only by us, he whispered, bridging the final gap between our lips. This is a confidential matter shared solely between us. In that moment, our lips met, and everything else faded away into oblivion. His body hovered near mine, a delicate proximity, as if he grasped the depths of my emotions with an uncanny intuition. With each delicate motion, I felt myself slipping away further, my hands naturally reaching for him amid the tempest of my swirling feelings. Each weighty, yet piercing instant we shared intensified the thrill coursing through my veins. Thomas's hands roamed over my body, stirring every emotion within me, even as a small part of me trembled at the thought of losing control. At that instant, the final word that had escaped my mouth faded from my memory. We had set forth on a journey, uncertain of its destination, yet the significance lay in the fact that we traversed this path side by side.